Be me, Tom, early 30s. Married to my wife, Arlene, for about 5 years. We had what I thought was a pretty solid life. Nice little house in the suburbs, 2 cars, no major debts. We weren't rich, but we were comfortable. We had our routines. I thought routines were a good thing. They meant stability, a life we built together. Turns out I was wrong. The change was slow at first, almost unnoticeable. A few months back, maybe late last year, she started getting distant. It wasn't one big event, just a lot of little things that added up. She'd come home from her day and immediately glue herself to her phone. I'd ask how her day was, and she'd give me a one-word answer without looking up. The little things we used to do, like watching a show together after dinner, just stopped happening. She was always too tired or had a headache or just wanted to scroll through social media. The physical side of our marriage evaporated. I'd try to initiate something, and she'd roll over, saying she wasn't in the mood. It went from a few times a week to once a week, then to nothing at all for a month straight. I tried to talk to her about it. I remember one Saturday afternoon, I suggested we go for a hike to one of our old favorite spots. She just looked at me with this blank expression, told me she wasn't interested in doing the same old boring stuff. That word boring started to pop up a lot. Our life was boring. Our town was boring. I was boring. Around this time, she reconnected with an old friend from college. This friend was the polar opposite of our life. Always traveling, dating new people every other week, posting about her spiritual journeys and empowerment retreats. Arlene started spending a lot more time with her. After they'd hang out, Arlene would come home with all these new ideas and phrases. Suddenly, our marriage wasn't a partnership. It was a container. My feelings weren't valid concerns. They were my insecurities and a product of toxic masculinity. She started talking about finding her authentic self and how our stable life was stifling her growth. I tried to be supportive. I really did. I suggested we take a trip, just the two of us, maybe somewhere exciting. She shut that down immediately, said she needed to find herself on her own, not as part of a couple. The tension in the house got so thick you could cut it with a knife. I felt like I was walking on eggshells every single day. Anything I did or said could be interpreted as me trying to control her or hold her back. I was just trying to save my marriage. The breaking point came on a Tuesday night. I'll never forget it. I made her favorite dinner, tried to set a nice mood, maybe have a real conversation for the first time in weeks. She barely touched her food, just pushed it around the plate. After a few minutes of painful silence, she put her fork down and looked at me. Her eyes were cold. There was no emotion in them. She told me she'd done a lot of thinking and had a proposal. That's the word she used, proposal, like it was a business deal. She said she still loved me, but she wasn't in love with me anymore. She said she needed to experience more of what life had to offer before she felt old and trapped. My stomach dropped. I knew where this was going. She told me she wanted an open relationship. I just stared at her. I couldn't even form words. She went on, explaining it all with this detached, clinical tone. It wouldn't mean we were breaking up. I'd still be her husband, her rock, her safe space. But she needed the freedom to explore connections with other people, specifically other men. I asked if I would have the same freedom. She actually scoffed, said that would be different. It would just be me trying to hurt her, whereas her doing it was about self-discovery. The hypocrisy was staggering, but I was too stunned to argue properly. I tried to reason with her. I brought up our vows, the life we built, everything we'd been through. I asked her if this was because of her friend. She got angry then, accused me of trying to isolate her and being a typical controlling husband. She said my resistance to her journey was proof of how much she needed it. Then came the ultimatum. We could either do this or she was leaving. There was no other option. I was a coward, I admit it. The thought of losing her, of our entire life crumbling to dust, was too much to bear. I thought maybe, just maybe, this was a phase. Maybe she'd try it, realize it was a terrible idea, and come back to me. I could weather the storm. I could be her rock. So I agreed. The moment the word yes left my mouth, I felt something inside me break. Arlene's whole demeanor changed instantly. The cold, distant woman was gone, replaced by someone giddy and excited. She gave me a quick peck on the cheek and said I wouldn't regret it. She spent the next hour on her phone, smiling and texting. I went into the living room and just sat there in the dark, feeling like the world's biggest fool. The first week was hell on earth. It was like she had been waiting for the starting gun to go off. She bought a bunch of new clothes, stuff that was way more revealing than anything she'd ever worn with me. She started going out multiple nights a week. Dinner with friends, she'd say, but we both knew what it was. She'd come home late, smelling of smoke and a cologne that wasn't mine. She made sure I knew about it too. There was this cruel edge to her. She wanted me to know the details. She wanted to see my pain. I think it validated her choice. My suffering was proof that I still loved her, that she still had power over me. She told me about the first guy. His name was Jax. She described him as a free spirit, a creative soul. Some musician she met through her friend. She would go on and on about how alive he made her feel, how he saw the real her. Every word was a knife in my gut. I tried to act normal. I'd wait up for her when she got home. I'd ask if she had a good time, trying to sound supportive. Inside, I was rotting. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. I lost weight. At work, people asked if I was okay. I just brushed it off, said I was tired. My life became a pathetic cycle of waiting. Waiting for her to leave, waiting for her to come home, waiting for the next gut-wrenching detail about her new life. She expected me to handle all the household responsibilities, of course. The lawn still needed mowing, the bills still needed paying, the groceries still needed buying. I was the stable, reliable husband, her rock. I was just a glorified house sitter who was paying for the privilege of having his heart ripped out every night. This went on for about a month, maybe 6 weeks. Time kind of blurred together in a haze of misery. I hit my lowest point one Friday night. She had a big date with Jax. She spent hours getting ready. She came downstairs wearing a dress I'd never seen before, and she looked beautiful, absolutely stunning. She looked at me, almost preening, asked me how she looked. I told her she looked amazing. My voice was hollow. She just smiled, a self-satisfied little smirk, and said, "I know. Jax is taking me to that new place downtown." Then she just walked out the door. No, I love you. No, see you later. Just gone. I stood there in the entryway for a long time. I felt completely and utterly broken, a shell of a man. I realized she had zero respect for me. Not an ounce. I wasn't her husband. I was her safety net, her doormat. Something in my head just snapped. I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't live like this. I grabbed my phone and called my best friend. He lives a few states away, and we hadn't talked in a while. Life gets in the way. He picked up on the second ring. I didn't even say hello. I just started talking. The whole story came pouring out of me. Everything. The distance, the ultimatum, the open relationship, Jax, everything. I was a mess. I was half sobbing into the phone. My friend listened patiently. He let me get it all out without interrupting. When I finally finished, there was a long pause on his end. I thought he was going to give me some generic, comforting advice. Tell me to hang in there, or that things would get better. He didn't. His voice was dead serious when he spoke. He told me I was being an idiot. He said Arlene was playing a game, and I was losing spectacularly, because I was the only one following the rules she made up. He asked me a simple question. What do you get out of this relationship right now? I had no answer. He told me I needed to stop playing her game entirely, stop caring, stop waiting up for her, stop asking about her day, stop being her emotional support animal. He said, she wants you to be her rock? A rock is hard and cold and doesn't give a damn. Be the rock. He told me to stop focusing on her and start focusing on myself. Go to the gym, reconnect with old hobbies, see my own friends, make my life my own again, not some sad waiting room for her. He said, the second you stop caring is the second you get your power back. She's feeding off your misery. Starve her. We talked for over an hour. By the time I hung up the phone, the despair was gone. It was replaced by a cold, hard resolve. He was right, all of it. I had let her define the terms of my own destruction. That ended tonight. I went into our bedroom. I packed a bag with a few days' worth of clothes and toiletries. Then I went into the guest room and made the bed. When Arlene came home around 2 a.m., flush with whatever excitement her night held, the house was dark. I wasn't waiting on the couch. The living room light wasn't on. She came into the bedroom, probably expecting to see me pretending to be asleep. The bed was empty. I heard her walk through the house, looking for me. She opened the guest room door. I didn't move. I just lay there, facing the wall. She asked me what I was doing in there. I said, without turning to look at her, I didn't want to disturb you when you came in. Figured this would be easier. My voice was flat, no emotion. She stood there for a moment, confused. This wasn't part of the script. She said, "Oh, okay, good night then," and closed the door. I heard her walk back to our bedroom alone. I didn't feel sad. I didn't feel angry. For the first time in months, I felt nothing at all about her. And in that nothingness, I felt a flicker of freedom. The next morning, I woke up before her. I went to the gym for the first time in years. It was brutal. I felt weak and pathetic, but it also felt good to do something for myself. I got home, showered in the guest bathroom, and left for the day before she was even awake. I didn't leave a note. I didn't make coffee for her. I just left. Throughout the day, she sent me a few texts. Where are you? Why did you sleep in the guest room? Are you mad at me? I didn't answer right away. I let the messages sit for hours. When I finally did reply, it was just one message. Busy day, just giving you the space you wanted. That night, I didn't go straight home. I called up a couple of local friends I hadn't seen in forever and went out for a burger and a beer. We talked about work, sports, old times, normal stuff. No one asked me about my marriage. It was a relief. I got home around 10 p.m. Arlene was sitting on the couch, waiting. She had that annoyed look on her face. She asked me where I'd been. I told her I was out with friends. You didn't tell me you were going out. I just looked at her. I didn't think I needed to. We're giving each other space, remember? The logic was undeniable, and she knew it. It was her logic. She hated it. She tried to switch tactics. She started telling me about her day, probably expecting me to get drawn back into our old dynamic. I just gave non-committal answers. Okay. Interesting. Then I said I was tired and went to the guest room. This became the new normal. I called it the gray rock method. I became as interesting and emotionally responsive as a gray rock. I had my own schedule. Gym in the mornings, work, then hobbies, or friends in the evenings. I was polite to her. I wasn't mean or aggressive, but I was completely detached. I was a roommate. I stopped cooking for her. I'd make my own food and clean up after myself. If she wanted to eat, that was on her. I stopped doing her laundry. I stopped asking her if she needed anything from the store. All those little acts of service, the things I used to do out of love, they all stopped. Arlene didn't know how to handle it. At first, she seemed to enjoy the freedom. But after a week or two, the novelty wore off. She started to realize that the open relationship she wanted was only fun when she had a devoted, heartbroken husband waiting in the wings to validate her. When the heartbroken husband was replaced by a dispassionate roommate, the whole arrangement lost its appeal. She started trying to get a reaction out of me. She'd leave her phone out, screen up, with messages from Jax visible. I'd walk past it without a second glance. She'd talk loudly on the phone with him in the next room, laughing and flirting. I'd just put on my headphones and listen to a podcast. One evening, she came home and launched into a long, detailed story about her amazing date with Jax. She described the restaurant, the conversation, how he made her feel. She was watching my face the whole time, looking for a flicker of jealousy or pain. When she finished, I just nodded. "That's nice. I'm glad you had a good time." Then I got up and went to my room to read a book. I heard a frustrated sigh from the living room. It was working. The less I cared, the more she wanted my attention. The power dynamic in the house had completely flipped. She was the one who started feeling insecure. She was the one trying to get a reaction. She started complaining that I wasn't communicating, that I was being cold and distant. I just reminded her that I was following the rules she set. This was the freedom and space she wanted so desperately. I was just honoring her wishes. The irony was so thick, it was almost funny. She had created this prison for herself, and she was only just starting to realize she was trapped in it. Her perfect fantasy was crumbling because one of the key components, my suffering, had been removed. I wasn't suffering anymore. I was getting better. I was getting stronger, physically and mentally. I was reconnecting with who I was before our relationship consumed me. I was sleeping through the night again. I was starting to feel like myself again. And she absolutely could not stand it. The real storm was still coming. I just didn't know how bad it was going to be. The dynamic in our house became a bizarre, silent chess match. My only move was to not play at all. Her next move was to try and change the rules again. When blatant stories about Jax didn't get a rise out of me, she tried a different approach. She tried to be the cool, understanding wife. She started asking me if I was seeing anyone. She said things like, "You know, Tom, it's okay if you want to go on dates too. It's only fair." This was a trap, and we both knew it. She wanted me to say yes. She wanted to be the victim, the one who was being cheated on, even though she'd orchestrated the whole situation. Or she wanted me to say no, which would prove I was still pathetically hung up on her. I just gave her a non-answer. "I'm just focusing on myself right now." It drove her crazy. It gave her nothing to work with. After that failed, she moved on to manufactured nostalgia. She'd find old photo albums and leave them open on the coffee table. Pictures of us from our honeymoon, from when we first moved into the house. She'd say things like, "Remember how happy we were then? We can have that again." I wouldn't even acknowledge the photos. I just moved the album aside to put my drink down. One evening, I came home from the gym, and she had cooked a huge meal. My favorite dish. Candles were lit. She was wearing a dress I hadn't seen in years. She greeted me at the door with a bright, fake smile and told me she wanted us to have a proper dinner together. The old me would have melted. The old me would have seen this as a sign of hope. The new me just saw it as a calculated move. I politely told her it looked nice, but I'd already picked up something to eat on my way home. The smile on her face didn't just fade, it shattered. I saw a flash of pure rage in her eyes before she could hide it. I just walked past her and went to my room. I felt a little bad, but then I remembered the months of agony she'd put me through without a second thought. My guilt disappeared pretty quickly after that. Her attempts to win me back became more frantic as, I assume, things with Jax started to sour. I never asked, but you could tell. The late nights out became less frequent. She was home more often, spending her evenings moodily scrolling through her phone with a frown on her face. Sometimes I'd overhear parts of her phone calls. Her voice would be high and strained. I'd hear phrases like, "What do you mean you're busy again?" Or, "You said we were going to," followed by long, defeated silences. It was exactly what my friend had predicted. The exciting, free-spirited artist didn't want a long-term commitment or someone else's emotional baggage. He wanted a fun, no-strings-attached diversion. As soon as Arlene started wanting more, started getting emotional and demanding, his interest faded. She was experiencing the same thing so many guys complain about. She was being treated as disposable. The irony was almost poetic. She started picking fights with me over stupid things: the dishes in the sink, the way I parked my car, the volume on the TV. It was all just a desperate attempt to get an emotional reaction. Anger, frustration, anything was better than the polite indifference I was giving her. I wouldn't take the bait. I'd just say, "You're right, I'll take care of it," and walk away. It was like trying to punch a ghost. Her blows never landed. Her frustration grew into a kind of quiet panic. She was losing him, and she had already lost me. The safety net she thought would always be there was gone. She started trying to make me jealous in reverse. She'd ask me where I was going all the time, who I was with. One night, I came home from having dinner with some friends, and she was waiting for me. She accused me of cheating on her. I just stared at her, dumbfounded. I actually laughed. It wasn't a happy laugh. It was a laugh of pure disbelief at the audacity. I said, "Arlene, you are actively dating another man. We are in an open relationship that you demanded. What on earth are you talking about?" She started crying, said it wasn't the same, that she felt like I was abandoning her. It was pure manipulation, a last-ditch effort to make herself the victim. I didn't comfort her. I didn't argue. I just told her I was tired and went to bed, in the guest room, as always. The final act of this whole sad play happened about 3 months after it all started. It was a weeknight, maybe a Wednesday. I was in the kitchen making myself a sandwich. The front door slammed open. Arlene stumbled in. Her makeup was a mess. Her eyes were red and swollen. She was a complete wreck. She saw me and just collapsed onto the floor in a heap, sobbing uncontrollably. I didn't rush over to her. I just leaned against the counter and watched. I knew this was it, the final performance. It took her a few minutes to be able to speak. It all came out in a rush. Jax had officially ended things. He'd told her it was never serious, that he thought she was just having fun. He called her needy. He had used her for a good time and then tossed her aside the second it became inconvenient. She was getting the exact same speech she gave me, just worded differently. She cried and cried, telling me how stupid she'd been. She said her friend was a bad influence. She said Jax was a monster. It was everyone's fault but her own. Then she looked up at me, her eyes full of desperate hope. "I made a mistake, Tom. A terrible, horrible mistake. I see that now." She crawled over to me on her knees and tried to hug my legs. "It was always you. You were the only one who ever really loved me. Please, can we just go back? Can we fix this? I'll do anything." I looked down at this woman who I had once loved more than anything in the world. I searched for any feeling inside me. Pity, anger, love, hate. There was nothing. Just a vast, quiet emptiness. The connection was gone. She had burned it to the ground, and now she was crying in the ashes. I waited until her sobs quieted down a little. My voice was calm and steady when I spoke. "I'm sorry you're hurting." A flicker of hope appeared in her eyes. I continued, "But this has nothing to do with me anymore." The hope died instantly. Confusion took its place. "What are you talking about? It has everything to do with you. I want you back." I slowly shook my head. I walked over to the kitchen counter and picked up a large manila envelope that had been sitting there all day. I slid it across the floor to her. "I filed for divorce last week, Arlene. Those are your copies." The silence that followed was louder than any of her screams. She just stared at the envelope, then at me. Her face went pale. She whispered, "No, you wouldn't." "I did," I said. "You wanted to find yourself. You wanted to explore who you are without me. I've decided I want to do the same." That's when she completely lost it. The sadness and pleading vanished, replaced by pure, uncut rage. She screamed at me, called me every name in the book. How could I do this to her? After everything she'd done for me. The irony was lost on her. How could I be so heartless and cruel? How could I abandon her when she needed me most? I just stood there and let her vent. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't defend myself. I just let the storm blow itself out. When she finally ran out of energy and was just left with ragged, angry breaths, I spoke one last time. "You made your choice months ago, Arlene. You chose a fantasy over our reality, and you taught me something very important." She looked at me, her expression a mix of hatred and confusion. "You taught me that my peace is more valuable than your happiness. I'm choosing my peace." I told her I had already arranged to stay with a friend for a while. I told her she had 30 days to find a new place to live, as per the legal agreement our lawyers would be drafting. Then I walked past her, went to the guest room, picked up the bag that I had already packed that morning, and walked out of the house. I didn't look back. The divorce was messy in the way all divorces are, but it was straightforward. She tried to fight for everything, of course, tried to paint me as the villain. But I had documented everything, the texts, the dates. I had a clear timeline. My lawyer was good. Her story fell apart under scrutiny. She didn't get half of what she wanted. In the end, she walked away with what she came in with, and not much more. I heard through a mutual acquaintance that she had to move back in with her parents for a while. Her empowered friend was suddenly nowhere to be found when Arlene actually needed help. Funny how that works. It's been about a year now. I sold the house. I didn't want to live with the ghosts of what happened there. I have a smaller place now, just for me. It's quiet. It's peaceful. I spent a lot of time working on myself. Not just the gym, but rediscovering my hobbies. I bought a project car, an old clunker I'm fixing up in my garage. It's something I always wanted to do, but never had the time for. My friends come over. We work on the car, have a few beers, talk about anything and everything. I'm not dating, I'm not looking. Maybe someday, but not now. For the first time in a very long time, I'm happy just being by myself. Sometimes I think about what Arlene did. It wasn't just about her wanting to be with other men. It was about power. She wanted the freedom of being single with the security of being married. She wanted a safety net that she could look down on from her tightrope. The moment I removed the net, she fell. She didn't want an open relationship. She wanted a cage for me and a playground for her. The only thing I did was walk out of the cage she built, and it destroyed her. I don't hate her. I don't feel anything for her at all. She's just a lesson I had to learn the hard way. Never set yourself on fire to keep someone else warm. They'll just complain that you're not burning bright enough.